Shalom, shalom, shalom. Can I be heard? Shalom, shalom, shalom. Can I be heard? Shalom. Shalom, 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 family. Had to restart the live. Restart the live. Shalom. Can I be heard? Give me a con 777 if I can be heard. Con. Salakia. Bear with me. If the sound go out, bear with me. That's because the do not disturb is not on. Salakia. Apologize about this. So this will have to be 2 parts. Okay, so again, let me go back to where I left off at. Luke 17:22, and he said unto the disciples, the days will come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and ye shall not see it. So the war with Iran, you might think this is World War III. All right, this is World War III. We're getting out of here soon, whatever the case may be. You might desire that this is the Third World War, and it's not the Third World War. So what do you have to do? You have to continue, be patient, and see that David, it's all good. You have Matthew 16:4, which was good, But Israel, in your zeal, you want it to be World War III so we can get the hell out of here. I mean, who doesn't? But don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. And Shalom. H.O.I. class 144 in the building. Shalom, family. So that's the gist of what I'm saying. This war with Iran, any conflict can escalate. The Lord can use a small conflict and it escalate to World War III. It can be something we don't even hear on the news. And next thing you know, America and Russia and China is ready to launch nukes on each other. It can be y'all can still do the Tuesday class because I probably won't be on here too long. I just wanted to do a quick closing for Purim, which Purim was already over at sundown, but y'all know what I mean. It's still the season. Plus, just give the quick chronological order of how to read the story. But anyway, so keep the faith, Israel. The Iran war might be over tomorrow. All right, but you still got to stay strong and keep the faith and endure. You're going to desire to see the day of the Lord and not see it. Things are going to happen, wars, rumors of wars. All these are the beginning of sorrows, but you still got to stay strong, stay 10 toes down in the faith, and keep the commandments and endure to the end. All right? So, Salakia about the sound, y'all. I got to put the do not disturb on when I'm filming, because when a call comes in, it automatically knocks the sound out. All right? So I'll troubleshoot with that and I'll get that straight, for my videos going further. So now, real quick, hopefully we won't be on here too long. We're going to show you, brothers and sisters, how you go back and forth with the story of Esther in the Apocrypha and the Bible, which I don't even like to say Bible and Apocrypha, but they're one and the same, but sometimes they're separate. I still got my old school red Apocrypha from years ago. I don't know. I'm just used to having 2 from my days of coming in the truth in One West. But they have many Apocryphas, Bibles with the Apocrypha in it, all the books in there. But now, if you happen to have the Bible and Apocrypha separate, we're going to show you real quick how you read the story of Purim in chronological order, with some parts of the story that was added throughout different times of history, because certain records were discovered And the scribes and scholars said we have to insert this in the story of Esther because more to the story was discovered in different writings throughout the years. So now, the first thing you start with, you go to the Apocrypha. This is the first step. You go to the Apocrypha. All right. You start at chapter 11, verse 2. If you got the red Apocrypha, it's on page 55. All right. You start at chapter 11, verse 2. All right. No, right here. So like here. Chapter 11, verse 2, and you go all the way down to verse 10. All right. That's what you start with. You got to go in Apocrypha and start first, right? Because that gives you the dream that Mordecai had about the entire story of Purim. That's powerful. All right, read that. Read that on your own when you get a chance. It's powerful because Mordecai had a dream about the entire story of Purim. But he didn't understand at the time, but when it played out at the end of the story and when Israel got delivered, then Mordecai said, I remember the Lord showed me this in a dream. All right. Now, from there, step 2, you go to Esther in the Bible, chapter 1, verse 1, and you read all the way through to chapter 3, verse 13 in the Bible. All right. You go from Esther 1 and 1 in the Bible, and you read up to chapter 3 and verse 13 in the Bible. Now, well, that would be like, that would be like the second step. But within that, I want to call it step 2A. Let's say step 2A. This is step 2, but this is step 2A. And write this down, y'all. If y'all don't write it down, come back to the video and write it down the way I'm telling it to y'all. All right? Because you got to learn Israel. Y'all got to start learning how to still put things in writing. This technology got some of y'all lazy. Everything is in your phone now and this and that. No, you got to start writing things down, writing things out, typing them up, printing them, and having that physical black and white. But even outside of the black and white and typing and printing, write it down so you have notes. You can never go wrong with raw notepads. Everybody give me a con 777 if y'all understand. If technology shut down, you can't get to this, you can't get to a computer, can't get to your phone, can't get to a printer. You got good old notepads. If you still got your home and you know whatever else, if Esau don't invade your home, you still got good old written black and white notes. That's always good, Israel. So now we're going to go to the book of Esther, and this is like point 2A. Or point, it could be point, let's just say point 3. Let's make it a separate point. Within reading Esther 1 and 1 to Esther 3 and 13, you go to Esther chapter 2. Esther chapter 2, and you read all the way to verse 23. But after you read Esther chapter 2, that's why I don't throw in my DVDs. Okay. After you read Esther chapter 2, verse 23, you go to the Apocrypha to Esther chapter 12. All right. In editions of Esther, you go to chapter 12 and you read all of chapter 12 after you finish chapter 2 and the last verse, because it doubles down on a story of Mordecai delivering the king from an assassination plot by the Greeks. So from chapter 2, verse 23 in the Bible, you go to chapter 12 and read the whole 12th chapter in the Apocrypha. Then you go back to chapter 3, all right, and you read chapter 3, verses 1 through 13. All right. Now, you read in the Bible from chapters, you go to chapter 3 and you read up to verse 13. Then you go to chapter 13 in the Apocrypha, all on page 155 again, right here. And what does it say? It says, place in the Greek after chapter 313 of the Hebrew. So when you read up to chapter 313 in the Bible, you go to chapter 13 in the Apocrypha and you read from there. All right? You read all of chapter 13 in the Apocrypha, right? I think it's verses, it has verses 1 through 7, right? You read all of chapter 13. Then you go back to the Bible, right? You go back to the Bible and you finish up with Esther chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. I know it might sound a little confusing, but stay with me, y'all. And if you read it on your own, especially if you got a separate red Apocrypha, you'll figure it out. You just got to study. It's a little tricky, but you got to figure it out. Now, after you read in the Apocrypha, Esther chapter 13, after 3 and 13 in the Bible, you go back to the 3rd chapter in the Bible and you finish out verses 14 and 15. Because Esther in the Bible goes up to, Esther chapter 3 goes up to verse 14 and 15. All right. So after you read 3 to 13, chapter 3, verses 1 through 13, you go to the Apocrypha, read Esther chapter 13 in the Apocrypha, in the editions, read all of that. Then you come back to the Bible and read chapter 3, verses 14 and 15. That's the completion of chapter 3. From there, all right, step number 5, because that was step number 4. All right, it might be a little confusing, y'all, and we'll print this out and share copies, but y'all got to learn how to write it down and read it and study it for yourself so you know how to go back and forth. All right, mostly every year, I can go back and forth in the story in chronological order because from doing it so many years. All right, not for bragging rights or anything, but the more you study, the more you learn. All right, so step 5. Then you go to Esther chapter 4 in the Bible and you read verses 1 to 17. You read verses 1 to 17, right? From there, you go back to Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 13, verse 8, right? Right here. This is Esther chapter 13, verse 8. This is the first part of Esther chapter 13, but this is complete with chapter 13 in the Bible, right? Now here, you're going to chapter 13, verse 8. This is page 56. And it says, place in the Greek after chapter 417 of the Hebrew. See that? So you're going to read in the Bible, Esther chapter 4, verses 1 to 17. Then you're going to go, and from here, you're going to read Esther chapter 13 and 8 in the Apocrypha, page 56, where it says, place in the Greek after chapter 417 of the Hebrew, right? Now, from there, you're going to read all of chapter 13, you're going to read all of chapter 14, and all of chapter 15. All right, and you're going to stop right here at chapter 16 because that, you got to insert that somewhere else. So that's going to be after chapter 4, verse 17 in the Bible. You're going to read all of this. The rest of 13, 8 on down to 18, all of chapter 14, and then all of chapter 15. Once you complete that, you go back to the Bible and you start at chapter 5 now. That completes chapter 4 between the Bible and the Apocrypha, all right? Right, Khan, if Hammond was alive today, he would be a small hat. From there, all right, verse 7, that was part 6. Part 7, all right, it's, you go back to the Bible, you're going to read chapters 5, chapter 6, chapter 7 in chronological order, straight through. There's no additions in between there. 5, 6, and 7, and the first part of 8 is a straight read. You read that straight through in the Bible, right? Then you're going to read chapter 8, and you're going to go up to verse 12, right? Shalakia, you're going to go up to verse 12, right? Chapter 8, verse 12 in the Bible. That's the 7th step. The 8th step is going to be Esther chapter 16 in the Apocrypha, right here. All right, that's page 57, if you got the red Apocrypha. If you got another Bible with the Apocrypha in it, you just got to figure it out. You got to study it and figure it out. But this, if you got the Bible and the red Apocrypha separate. Now you're going to read all of chapters after chapter 8, verse 12. In the Bible, you're going to read all of chapter 16. All right, all of chapter 16. All this up to here, then of course it goes into Wisdom of Solomon. But you're going to read all of that up to verse 24. Chapter 16, verses 1 through 24. All right, you're going to read that after Esther chapter 8, verse 12 in the Bible. And it tells you right here, it says, place in the Greek after chapter 8 and 12 of the Hebrew. All right, now, you read all of chapter 16. That's done. It's gonna you still got to jump back to the beginning of the Apocrypha, right? The beginning of the rest of the chapters of Esther. From there, you go back to Esther, the 8th chapter, and you read from 13 to 17, and you end chapter 8. After chapter 8, verse 12, in the Bible, you go to chapter 16 in the Apocrypha and read all of that. Then you go back to the Bible and you finish off chapter 8 from verses 13 through 17. All right? Who's staying with me? Be honest. They're like, what the hell is Elder talking about? I got to figure this out. All right? Who's with me so far? Y'all with me? Stay with me. And if you're reading it, you can figure it out. All right? Now, from there, you go to chapter 9. Right? You go to chapter 9 in the Bible and you read all of chapter 9. Right? Then you read all of chapter 9. Then you read the first 3 verses of chapter 10. All right? You finish out chapter 9. And then in the Bible, you're going to have chapter 10. And there's only 3 verses in chapter 10. Then you go back to the Apocrypha, right, at chapter 10. Chapter 10 is the 3 verses in the Bible, but it's not over yet. You go to part of the 10th chapter after the Greek. And you read here on page 55 again, you read part of the 10th chapter after the Greek. You read the editions of Esther, chapter 10, verses 4 through 13, because it picks up, it's verses 1 through 3 in the Bible, but here it picks up verses 4 through 13. All right, and you're finished with chapter 10 of the book of Esther. Then after that, you read from there. Yeah, you read the rest of chapter 10 right here, 4 through 13. All right, the additions to chapter 10. Then you just read chapter 11 and the first verse. You read chapter 11 and the first verse, and that's it. All right. Matter of fact, let me read that. In the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemy and Cleopatra, the Scythians, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemy his son brought the epistle of Purim, which they said was the same, and sent Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemy, that was in Jerusalem, and had interpreted it. So basically, they'll let you know further along in history, during the Ptolemies and other different dynasties, when the Greeks finally did come into power, the story of Purim was known amongst the Jews and the Israelites, and we kept it throughout the Greek captivity also. That's what it's letting you know. Everybody understand? Give me a con 777. So the last thing you would read is chapter 11, verse 1 in the Apocrypha, because that's telling you, that's going further on into history, that the Feast of Purim, remember, Purim happened during the Persian Empire. The Greeks, the Macedonians under Hammond, and them Edomites, they was trying to take the Persians down back then. And they said the only way we can do that is by exterminating Israel. You see how the so-called white man always find a way to fit us into being the enemy? You trying to take down the damn Greek Empire. All right? You trying to kick, I said kick. You trying to take down the Greek Empire, but we can't take the Greeks down until we get rid of these Israelites. We got to get rid of these niggas. They always was trying to exterminate us throughout history. What the hell we got to do with y'all taking the Greeks down? We just want to serve our God. No. Them Jews are rebellious, the real Jews. The Negroes, Hispanic, Native American, and Seminole Indians of Indian and Negro descent. They are rebellious. They're going to be a problem serving that God of Israel. We got to take them out. Yeah, Indiana, Lewis, yeah. Right, you gotta go back. It's just go back and watch it. Watch the video and figure it. And as you're reading, if you're being careful, you'll figure it out. All right. Y'all may not get it right here and then. You're gonna have to go back and follow me. That's why I'm making a video of it. Right, so you can play it back. You can play it back, and as you're reading it and going along with what I'm saying, just go step by step. Is these 11 steps, you can't go wrong. That's why I'm doing a video on it, so you can hear me verbally. You go here, you go there, you go there. So, Indiana Lewis said, I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused, but we'll go back when the live is over. Yeah. All right, go back. And that's how you read the story of Esther between the Bible and Apocrypha. That's how you fit in the chronological order. I know it's confusing, but go over it. Give yourself 3 times to go over it, and I guarantee y'all will figure it out. If y'all don't, email me at houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com, and I'll help y'all figure it out. All right? Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible. Everybody give me a con 777. Con? All right, so let's just read a little bit about Purim and Nicanor, and we're going to close out. All right, that's it. We're going to close out. Let's go to Esther chapter 9. Let's go to Esther chapter 9. And those of y'all that's been doing it over the years, y'all probably got the chronological order written down, and we gave it out a few years. We gave it out. We gave a printed version out a few years. Maybe some of y'all got it, maybe some of y'all didn't. But we'll do that over. And you don't have to just wait till Purim to read about this story. You can read about it throughout the year, so you're prepared during Purim and have the chronological order. But some of y'all should have it in your notes. Maybe some of y'all got the printed or email form when we sent it out a few years back, but we can always update it. All right. So Esther chapter 9. Let's start at let me just get right to the point. Let's go to Esther chapter 9, and we're going to start at verse 15. All right, Esther chapter 9, verse 15. We're going to just jump right to the point. Yeah, I love the story of Purim too. And remember, I always mention every year there's a good movie you can watch, even though it's Edomites. But, Esau going to put himself as the Jews, the Persians, everybody. But it's called One Night with the King. The story of Esther. It's called One Night with the King. It's free on YouTube. I watch it every year when Purim comes up. Just like I watch the 10 Commandments every year. You watch the 10 Commandments when you was a child. You know what I'm saying? So it's called One Night with the King. Interesting movie, and it gives you a little bit more insight. It's not just Hollywood, because when you look up some of the stuff, it's actually true with the story of Purim. They do add certain stuff for Hollywood, but some of the stuff when you fact check it, it is true. It adds a little bit more to the story of Purim. Oh, yeah, it's called One Night with the King. Esther 9 and 15 in the Bible. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month, Adar, and slew 300 men of Shushan, but on the prey laid not their hands. So when you read the story of Purim, you know the Persian queen Vashti, she rebelled against the king Ahasuerus Xerxes, which is Xerxes the first, the same one from 300. He rejected her, and Esther became the king's wife. Her being a Benjamite of the children of Israel, she was put in that position to appeal to the king to save Israel, because Haman, this Edomite, wanted to rise up and overthrow the Persian Empire so the Greeks can rule, but he wanted to wipe out and exterminate Israel in the process, because he said they're going to be a hindrance to us ruling. And when we take the Persians down, the Jews going to be a hindrance to us ruling as a people because of their diverse laws. So the Lord put Esther in the position to appeal to the king so the king can reverse the decree that was set up to destroy and wipe out Israel, so that they would have power to defend themselves against Haman and all the enemies that was going to rise up to try to exterminate them. And we was allowed to exterminate them. And after we killed all their asses off and took the spoil, we celebrated for 2 days. By Hashem Mashiach Yahushua. And Haman and his 10 sons, the gallows that they set up to hang Mordecai on, those was used, it was reversed, and him and his 10 sons was hung on those gallows. Why was his sons hanged? Because his sons is the seed. Right? His sons is the seed. So they were all wiped out. So that legacy couldn't rise up again and come against Israel, even though we still had war with the Greeks in future history. I mean, future time frames. Salakia. So reading on. Esther 9:16. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 70 and 5,000, but laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month Adar, which, remember, the 13th day of the month Adar is also Nicanor's day, the destruction of Nicanor, or Judas Maccabee's day, when we rose up against the Greek armies and fought during the Maccabean dynasty and took back rulership of the temple and city. So all these dates, they were hundreds of years apart, but they both symbolize time frames where we defeated Edomites, our enemies, and rose up as a people. So let you know, Esau always been our enemy, and he's still our enemy today. All right, so reading on, it says, on the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Now, when it said they rested, meaning they rested from killing off the enemies. That's what it's talking about. Purim is a day of celebration. It's a festival time. It's not a Shabbat. It's not Leviticus chapter 23. I know some of Israel celebrated as a Sabbath, but the reason why I said they rested is because they rested from the destruction of our enemies. Because we killed 75,000 enemies and 300 at the capital. And we just finished hanging Haman and his 10 sons. So it was a lot of killing going on. So we rested from that, and then taking their camps down, eventually taking a spoil. So we rested after that. We was putting in work. We was putting to death our enemies. All right? Right? Yeah, we killed a lot of people. So on the 14th and 15th day, we made it a day of gladness, resting, and feasting and peace. All right? Therefore, the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. So it's a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day and sending portions to one another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews and Salakia, and that were in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar and the 15th day of the same yearly. So it was made a feast day and festival day and a day of celebration, feasting, and gladness. And it was added to the calendar of the Israelites, of the Jews. All right, it was added to the calendar. Con? All right, so that's why when you come up into the Greek Empire, during the Ptolemies, they found the letters and the epistles of Purim. They said, wait a minute, this is part of our history that we're supposed to be acknowledging every year. So when you go further on, we was acknowledging it each year as a nation because there was records and copies of it that translated from one kingdom to another. All right. It said to establish them among them, that they should keep the 14th of the month of Adar, Salakia, the day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning unto a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another and gifts to the poor. So this is our main feast day. You know, we give gifts at Hanukkah. Sometimes you give gifts at Passover. Throughout the year, you know, you give a gift just because. But this was our main time to do alms and charity to the poor and to send gifts to one another. Like the other night, you know, we had the H.O.I. Northeast. We had the celebration in Philly. And a lot of brothers and sisters came and gave out gifts to the whole body. You know, look, man, I got like 40 such and such that I bought. I'm going to pass them out to everybody, you know, just as an act of love and kindness and remembering our feast day. All right. So reading on, it says, and the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. So that's when you get the Feast of Purim, or Par Yum. In the ancient Paleo Hebrew, it means lot, fate, or destination. All right, what was our destiny as a people? What was going to happen to us? Were we going to be exterminated and wiped out? Or, Salakia, or were we going to be delivered as a nation of people? And what happened? It was turned from a day of sadness to joy, from misery or thinking we was going to be wiped out and exterminated as a people, to us destroying our enemies and being able to live and prosper and being even showed favor in the Persian Empire. All right, it says, but when Esther came before the king, all right, Salakia. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. So, like I was bringing out in the opening the other night, Esther, the 9th chapter, is a summary of the entire story of Purim. It just summarizes what happened. All right. Wherefore they call these days of Purim after the manner of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to the appointed time every year. So every year, like I was bringing out the other night, I believe the first Purim they said was 366 or 367 BC, circa 366 or 367, maybe even 365. I got to read it. I got to look it up again. But it was circa 366 or 367 BC, one of them years. All right. And then from every year on, we were supposed to keep, this was added to the feast days and festival and celebration days of the Israelites. Wherefore they called these days, oh no, I read that. Verse 28. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther the queen, daughter of Abiahel, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm the second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews in 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, and with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according to Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of the fastings, and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. See that? It was written in the chronicles of the Persian and King records, and also written for our records to later on be kept and stored and rewritten to be put in the Bible. All right, which is our historical book. Chapter 10, verse 1. And notice it said, throughout all our generations, and that we should never forget, and we should keep this feast yearly. Especially now when the scriptures say, when we bethink ourselves in the land of our captivity, when we come back to our true identity and nationality, we got to come back to these days. All right, that's part of our culture. That's part of us putting back on the whole armor of the Most High Mashiach Yahushua. Chapter 10, verse 1. And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? Let you know that it is written in their records also. All right. For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great amongst the Jews. See that? So Mordecai elevated to be right up under Xerxes. Xerxes the first. Like I said, the same Xerxes you see in the movie 300. That was a little sensationalized, but you know, Hollywood added they spin. Some of the scholars tell you some of the things in the movie are accurate, but they added certain things, of course, for Hollywood. But this is the same Xerxes the first, son of Darius and grandson of Cyrus. All right, so what happened? What does this remind you of? Joseph, Daniel. Remember, they made it into second in command. They had high positions, even in captivity. All right. Like now, some of our people, they have high positions in the gut. They're still under Esau. That's just like the whole this whole confusion about the Gentile salvation. Every Gentile, we're not just going to be beating the hell out of them, kicking them around and you know, unless we want to. But even in the kingdom, certain Gentiles going to have certain positions in the kingdom, but they still going to be our slaves. If a so-called black man, Hispanic, Native American, and Seminole Indian, no matter how high they get in this kingdom, look at the prophecy on Judah. Judah shall be in the neck of the enemy. Judah, which would be the so-called African Americans today, for those that can't receive it, because everybody can't receive the 12 tribes chart. Look at Jesse Jackson that just died. Jesse was in the neck of the enemy. Do you know how many times they used Jesse Jackson to go? Salaki, y'all got tongue twisted. How many times they used Jesse Jackson to go and negotiate hostages to bring back to America? Because Esau couldn't do it. They used Jesse many times. They used Jesse in Kosovo and certain other lands. They was given a list the other day. I forget all the countries, but in 99 in Kosovo, they used Jesse. So a lot of times the so-called black man, he's in the neck of the enemy. He's got that top position right up there with Esau. And what also, he's in Esau's primary kingdom, America. The majority of so-called African Americans or so-called Negroes or FBA, now we FBAs. We all these bywords and proverbs. We foundational black Americans now. All right. But either way, we the tribe of Judah of the nation of Israel. But mainly the so-called Negro would be in a top kingdom. He's mainly here. There's so-called African Americans scattered throughout the earth, but the largest portion of the tribe of Judah is here in America. They're in the neck of the enemy. They're in the top kingdom. Or the top kingdom that's put out to the forefront by the Illuminati. America's the top kingdom that's put out to the forefront by the Illuminati. All right. So you got Salakia. So right here, Mordecai, he was a Benjamite, but he was advanced to be under, you know, the Persian king. So you're gonna have that. You can have levels to your slaves, but they still your slaves and your captives. Jesse Jackson was a high-level slave to the so-called white man. They said, look, nigga, you got the gift of gab, right? We need to control this hostage situation. So in my dedication to the United States situation, I'm going to go over there and free these hostages and make a declaration. I don't know. Oh, man, rest in power, Jesse. But Jesse did some evil things. He got an answer to the Most High, all right? But, yeah, they said, nigga, get over there with that Negro gift of God, man, and bring them hostages back, man. They ain't listening to us. And when you look at the history of Jesse Jackson, he was used a lot of times. Judah's in the neck of the enemy. Right? Who's got the top positions in sports and in music and entertainment? Even do you know a lot of these big companies, they got a black CEO, they got a black, well, probably not the CEO, but they got some Negro in there with a high position that a lot of times they don't show out on the forefront. But a lot of times that Negro be running the whole damn company. He ain't gonna be the head though. Esau's never gonna let him take over the company. I've seen it on lower level situations. I worked on jobs and everything. They gotta go to the so-called black man or black woman for everything. Them Edomites be confounded. We're gonna have to ask Mr. Johnson. And Jake come down and break it down and we gotta do this and that. Right? They show you that in that movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy. You give the so-called black man you give him the same opportunity, he's gonna excel every time because we're the salt of the earth, we're the chosen people, is in our DNA. Not to say Esau and the other nations, because, you know, Esau, he's the devil, but he's talented, he's smart. Elam, Moab, you know what I'm saying? They be mathematicians and scientists, and not saying it's all nations the Most High gave a level of wisdom to and talent and technology. But with Israel, we will excel every time. All right, so Mordecai was raised up under Xerxes, and the Most High used that situation to show favor to Israel. Just like Daniel, just like Joseph in Egypt, same thing. When a man's ways please the Lord, he make even his enemies be at peace with him. But Mordecai is still he's still technically a slave to Xerxes. But the Most High just elevated him so Israel could be fine for that time. And accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people and speaking peace to his seed. Check that out. Right? Check that out. You can't, babe. You got to watch that movie. You got to watch it. Sometimes a movie has to catch you. You know, but you got to sit and watch it because there's a lot. Remember, to be a producer or a director in Hollywood, you got to know the Bible. Even the silliest, stupidest movie, I'm telling y'all, don't sleep. They will show you like Trading Places, it show you the kind of experiments that the Illuminati do. And that movie straight up show you, not to give it away, you still got to watch it, baby. But they show you that when the so-called black man is given the same opportunity, more likely than not, he will excel. Now you got some jakes that they was given good positions and they got on drugs, they messed their life up or whatever the case may be. Esau sabotaged them, but it's a good movie to show you how a lot of times it's just the condition we're in as a people. If you give us a fair chance, we will excel. You know what I'm saying? We'll make something out of nothing. That's why the movie shows you, that's why they keep our people down on a certain poverty level. They set things up to keep us destabilized. They have institutionalized racism so that you're not given that equal or same opportunity where you would excel. Because that's just who we are. We the ish, man. We the salt of the earth. Don't hate us because you ain't us. We the Lord's chosen people. We just got that spirit. All right. It said, a 53-year-old Jake in Detroit that said he helped create the blueprint for Amazon warehouse 20 years ago. And they use all his idea for the company and he getting breadcrumbs today. Yeah, check that out. Yeah. Look at, it's been trending now. Mr. Tenderism. Y'all seen that? The brother that, he made this restaurant, Destination Smokehouse, very famous with his real tender barbecue. He is the epitome. He's the epitome of fall off the bone, meat falling off the bone. Even though, damn it, you know, Israel, we could throw down. A lot of times you eat from different people. They be like, yeah, that meat falling off the bone. But he show you the dinosaur ribs. He got the thing called a dinosaur ribs. And he laughed. He said, it's a dinosaur bone, but it's like a giant beef rib. And he takes it and he lifts up the bone and the meat slide right off it. Yeah, man. So what happened? The Edomite from Destination Smokehouse, he got proud and said, we were already famous without him. He said it right in front of the brother's face. They showed the interview the other day. And he said it right in front of him, all right? Dora Charles, she wasn't as lucky as Mr. Yeah. Man, it's so many stories. That's why, you know, in a way, I like Black History Month, because Black History Month every year, like some of the celebrities, they'll come out and they'll be talking about black and I be learning new stuff. I didn't know. Damn, you know, you have so many of our people. We did recipes and created this and this kind of food and made this restaurant famous. And look at Paula Deen. She got all her recipes and stuff from our people and called it Southern cuisine. She didn't call it soul food. She called it Southern cuisine. I just seen a video today. He was cold. She wasn't as lucky cooking for one of the Isley brothers. Yeah. It was a female cooking for one of the Isley brothers. You said she wasn't that lucky. Now, yeah, that's true, but yeah, Paula Deen, she got a lot of her recipes from Dora Charles and other good cooks. That's what they do, man. You got some of our people that's unknown. Esau get in there, steal little stuff from them and take this and that. You never hear about them people. A lot of stories are not even told. So we the salt of the earth, man. We literally the salt of the earth. We know how to make food taste good, taste great. They talking about soul food is slave food. That's plantation food. Man, you out your mind. And if that's how y'all feel about it, like a lot of the Africans will say that. Even some of the Caribbean. Shout out to our Benjamite brothers and sisters, but they get proud. Yankee food nasty, no flavor. Right? We put a spice and thing in our food. Right? But you got people that pay homage like, nah, soul food is delicious. And yeah, I don't give a damn. More for us. We'll keep our own food to ourselves. Right? But, you know, we don't want to get into the tribal thing, but it does happen. It does happen amongst our people. Slave food is plantation food. It's nasty. It don't have no flavor. You know what I'm saying? So That's what goes on. But Esther is a great story of how we excel in our enemy's land. All the tribes of Israel, because Esther and Mordecai were Benjamites. And the Most High, you use all of Israel. All right, so that's why I'm gonna read that again. Esther 10:3. For Mordecai the Jew was great unto King was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great amongst the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people and speaking peace in to all his seeds. So there's nothing wrong with moving up in the enemy's empire, but still being for your people, right? Let's go to we read this the other night. Let's go to 2 Maccabees 15. And we're gonna just read 34 and 35. We read this the other night because we were remembering day of destruction of Nicanor and Judas Maccabees. But I just want to make a point to add to Esther 10:3 about the exaltation of Mordecai amongst his people. Check this out. 2 Maccabees 15:34. So every man prays toward heaven, the glorious Lord, saying, blessed be he that have kept his own place undefiled. Meaning they was praising the Most High because Nicanor had got killed in battle. His head got chopped off, his arm got chopped off, his tongue got cut out, and they hung it up as a token to the people. Look at this wicked, evil Edomite that spoke against the temple and against Israel. Look what the Most High did to him. Not only did we kill him, we chopped his head off, and we're going to show it to all the people what the Most High can do to our enemies. Most High is cold, man. Y'all better understand that. And we allowed to celebrate war. All right? We allowed to celebrate the destruction of our enemies. All right? And they ordained all with the common decree, in no case to let that day pass without solemnity, but to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which in the Syrian tongue is called Adar, the day before Mordecai's day. All right, so 2 Maccabees 15:35 to link with Esther 10:3 to show you Mordecai was exalted amongst the people, seeking the wealth and the peace of his seed and his people. So Purim, another name for Purim, was called Mordecai's Day. Mordecai's Day 1 and 2. Even though the story was centered around Esther, but Mordecai was a key figure in the story, and he rose up, being a man, not taken away from Esther, our beautiful sister, but being a man, he got risen up under Xerxes and exalted amongst his people and got favor with the heathens. So the Feast of Purim was also named after Mordecai. That's why we also call destruction of Nicanor Day of Judas Maccabees. That's why on Sunday night, if y'all go back to the lesson, the live I did on here, I went into some of the battles and the stories of Judas to exalt him on that day of Nicanor also. Like it tell you in Sirach 44, let us now praise famous men. So we can exalt our forefathers. We're not worshiping them, making them into their gods. We're giving credit where credit is due. We're paying homage. Saying what precepts again? Do I mind saying what precepts again? They don't, well, oh, you're talking about from tonight. I thought you meant from the lesson. 2 Maccabees 15:36 with Esther 10:3. All right. So that's why the feast was called Mordecai's Day. So 2 Maccabees 15:36 with Esther 10:3. You link those two up to show the feast was called Mordecai's Day because Mordecai was exalted among the people and rose up to right next to Xerxes in the kingdom, like second in command. All right. So let's go to the Apocrypha for the rest of chapter 10. Let's go to the Apocrypha, page 55, if you got the red Apocrypha. If you got the Bible with the Apocrypha in it, you got to study it and figure it out. All right, I'm from the old school. From One West, we always had separate Bible and Apocrypha. And I don't even like that because they're one book. But it just forced a habit over the years. But anyway, the rest of chapter 10 and the rest of the chapters of the book of Esther, verses 4 through 13. Then Mordecai said, Yahweh have done these things, for I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof have failed. So remember, we told y'all, when you go to a place in the Greek before chapter 1 and 1 of the Hebrew, chapter 11, verses 2 through 10, it tells you the dream that Mordecai had. We can read it after this. All right. A little fountain became a river, and there was light and the sun and much water. This river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen. So it said a little fountain became a great river, meaning Esther was exalted from a little captive Benjamite Hebrew girl to be the king's wife, the queen. All right. So verse 7, and the two dragons are I and Ammon, because Mordecai had a dream about two dragons, all right, or two fierce beasts. But the two fierce beasts symbolize two nations. All right, like in Daniel, the Most High referred to different nations as beasts. All right, Revelations, different nations as beasts. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to Yahweh and were saved. For the Lord have saved his people, and the Lord have delivered us from all these evils, and Yahweh have wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. So Esther 10 and 9 in the Apocrypha links with Matthews 1:21. Right? Remember Matthews 1:21, it says Yahweh came to save his people from their sins. His people are the Israelites. So the rest of the books of Esther, chapter 10, verse 9, links with Matthews 1:21. All right? That's the link up. And I believe Joel chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. All right? Joel chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Matthew 1:21, Esther 10 and 9. His people is Israel. That's how you link that up. So a Christian come and say, Jesus came and died for everybody. No, he died for the children of Israel. That everybody comes in, back to this Gentile salvation, that everybody comes in when the Israelites come back in power and the nations are going to bow down to us and serve our God. But primarily, Yahweh died so that the Israelites can be redeemed back to their position as the chosen people of the Lord. The nation's going to come into the kingdom and they're going to bow down and keep the law. But it's a chronological order with Israel still being the superior nation. The salvation of rulership goes to Israel. Now I'm going to start some trouble now. The Gentiles get salvation, but for the plantation. The Gentiles going to be saved, but they're going to be saved to be slaves. A lot of y'all don't even like to use the word salvation with Gentiles or saved with Gentiles, but Elder will start some trouble. Well, you shouldn't even say salvation when it comes to the Gentiles. Yes. Salvation for the plantation, because it's going to be a rough situation for these nations. Shout out to Jesse. All right, don't get at me. Don't follow, y'all. Don't get at me, yo. Well, you giving a shout out to that wicked nigga Jesse. That nigga killed Martin Luther King. No folly, y'all. No folly, right? Hopefully Jesse, I don't know. Maybe the Most High have mercy on his soul. All right, Jesse, man. Jesse got taken out in Black History Month. But anyway, I start some trouble. Y'all get mad when the word salvation and saved is used talking about the Gentiles. But anyway, no folly, y'all. We've been saying that. Shout out to Mahar, Army of Israel. He was the one that, when he was part of We Got Next and H.O.I, he was the one that came up with that saying salvation for the plantation. And we used to say it in the camp. because the Christians, the heathen Christians would come up and say, well, can I receive salvation? And we started saying, yeah, you can receive salvation for the plantation. You're going to be saved to be a slave. Meaning you're going to be saved from nuclear destruction and the end of the world. If you don't die, your ass going in chains. Or if you're reborn back in the kingdom, you're going to be born into slavery. All right? So don't be mad, y'all. The elder don't use the word. Some of y'all got mad when I said it's a play on words. Because, yes, that's what it is. You get freaked out when you hear salvation in Gentiles, but you got to understand there's a category you can put them in. Salvation of servitude, salvation for the plantation, salvation for slavery. Or like I said, if you so spooked out and you don't want to use the word salvation, there's no salvation for the Gentiles, elder, don't say that. All right, the nations, they're not going to be destroyed in a nuclear missile, but the ones that's not destroyed, they're going to be our slaves. Does that sound better, y'all? Yes, there's many definitions for salvation. I went into that when I had to clap back at the dude from GMS. And I don't do that, man. I don't do the messy back and forth with these camps and these brothers, but he just lied and twisted my words around. So he said I was in my feelings talking about him. It wasn't even about him. I went over his head. I used him as a talking point to make my point to Israel to explain what I was saying. And like my elder Yaquab used to say, if you can't get it after that, then the hell with you. But that's what always been taught. That's what I learned from day one in 1994 in One West, and that's what I've always taught. The level of what the nation's going to do in the kingdom. And some of them going to get that hardcore punishment, slavery too. But anyway, that's for another topic. Anyway, reading on. Esther 10 and 10 in the Apocrypha. Therefore hath he made two lots, one for the people of the Most High and another for the Gentiles, meaning the Lord ordained two different fates or destinations for Israel to be delivered at that time from the Persians and for the Gentiles to be destroyed that was plotting to destroy us. And these two lots came at the hour, time, and day of judgment before Yahweh among all nations. So Yahweh remembered his people and justified his inheritance. Therefore, those days shall be unto them in the month Adar, the 14th and the 15th day of the same month, with an assembly and joy and with gladness before Yahweh, according to the generations forever among his people. Now I'm going to read chapter 11, verse 2, where it says, place in the Greek before chapter 1, verse 1 of the Hebrew, because yeah, salvation for the plantation makes a whole lot of sense. But some brothers Israel be so freaked out and over righteous and scared. It ain't no salvation for the Gentiles at all. Meaning there's different meanings for the word. That's what I said when I did that Facebook Live when I was out in LA. I was on the West Coast. I say y'all getting caught up in wordplay. There are different meanings for words. But How about now? Y'all can hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? All right. Salakia, y'all, they always tell me to put my phone on Do Not Disturb when I'm filming, because when somebody calls in, it automatically cut the sound out, and it take like 3 to 5 minutes for the sound to come back on. Okay, but I was almost done. Let me see. Yeah, now we're gonna go to place in the Greek before chapter 1 and 1 of the Hebrew, right? Esther chapter 11, verse 2. In the second year of the reign of Xerxes the Great, and the first day of the month Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Samai, the son of Cassi of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man, being a servitor in the king's court. He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, carried from Jerusalem with Jeconiah, king of Judea, and this was his dream. So what I just read in chapter 10, this is what we're going to read right here. This is the dream he had, but then in chapter 10, verses 4, the rest of chapter 10, verses 4 through 13, he explained the dream, because once everything happened, and that happens with us now. You know how you dream about something, or you dream about somebody, you know, he was in my dream the other night. Yeah, what happened? I don't know what that means. Then a week later, something happened, like, oh, the Most High showed me that. That's what that dream meant. You know what I'm saying? You know, I had dreams when certain things happened, like within the camp. And the Most High showed it to me before it happened. But I didn't know at the time what it meant. You know, unfortunately, rest in peace to two of our elders that passed away back to back. Elder Shemaiah and Elder Mishael of H.O.I, NY, and J. But during the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles ended early because we was trying to get away from a storm, right? But before we got on the road, we went into a hotel. We stayed in a hotel because we thought the storm was coming at night. You know, as Israel said, no, it's the Feast of Tabernacle. You can't cheat. You got to stay out there and tough it out. No, not when you have children and equipment and your tents get all soaking wet and whatever. You don't know what our people done do it for 40 years in the wilderness. But anyway, hyper-righteous Israel. But when me and the brothers went to the hotel, that night I had a vision. It wasn't a dream. I had a vision. And I was like, it was something heavy, right? I won't get all into it now, but the Most High showed me, it's just something heavy came over my spirit. And I was like, I said, the tabernacles is ending a little early. The Most High, something is coming. And we had back-to-back death in H.O.I. We had a duo of death in H.O.I. Right? So I give that testimony to say, the Lord show you things before they happen because he's trying to convince you of his power. Like, I'm in control. Look, something going to happen next week, but I'm going to show it to you before it happened to show you I control everything. So I didn't know at the time. I was like, what is this heavy spirit? And other things I saw, I keep that between me and the Most High. But I was like, but then when it happened, we had one death, and the second brother, I already felt he had passed when certain things, you know, and people reached out to me and they couldn't hear from, I already felt it in the spirit. I said, that's what the Most High was showing me. We had to get ready for a back-to-back blow in the camp. So it's real. So the Most High does that. It tell you that in Job 33. He seals the visions of men to hide them from their pride, to let you know he's in charge. I can show you I'm going to do something before it even happens, so you know that I did it. So you know that I'm the ultimate power. So reading on. Verse 5 in Esther chapter 11 in the Apocrypha. Behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder, an earthquake, and an uproar in the land. And behold, two great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. Remember, the dragons represent fierce beasts. All right, two great fierce beasts, which in the rest of chapter 10, that symbolize two nations. That symbolize Israel, and that symbolize Esau and the other nations. Because the other nations was under Haman. So that's the two dragons, the nation of Israel and Esau heading the other nations and the nations under him. All right, it says, and at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. All nations was prepared under Haman, the Edomite, to fight and destroy Israel. We the righteous people, Isaiah 26:2. Pursuant to Isaiah 26:2, we are the righteous nation. And in a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. Meaning it was going to be a great day of destruction for our people. All right. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. They was fearing the evils that was going to come upon them. They was like, oh no, it's a degree sign that to exterminate. All right, what they call commit genocide, like Esau have tried to do throughout the years, with all these different things, AIDS, diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, you know, other types of drugs, gang banging, gangster rap music. All that stuff was to kill us off and destroy us as a people. And the ones that didn't die off, lock them up in prison. All right, the draft during the Vietnam War, just anything to exterminate our people, especially the men. You know, AIDS in one decade. Then the heroin epidemic. Try to kill Negroes off with heroin. All right, all these different things. I just recently, I started watching that show Snowfall. I heard a lot of people talk about it over the years. I never really paid no attention. It was supposed to be the story of Freeway Rick Ross and how the CIA was dealing drugs in our neighborhood. And I was watching a few episodes of it, and they show you right in the movie. The CIA is involved in the cocaine and crack epidemic in the 80s. So all these things throughout centuries and years to try to destroy the righteous people. All right. Then they cried unto Yahweh, and upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, that little fountain was Esther, was made a great flood, even much water. So the little fountain is compared to Esther. She went from a little Hebrew Benjamite captive woman to this great position as the king's wife. And that position was used to help deliver her people. All right. From a fountain, she became a flood. The flood symbolizes her position was used to destroy and flood out the nations that was coming to destroy Israel. All right. Yeah, they was trying to kill us off, kill off our seed. All right. The light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. Now when Mordecai, who has seen this dream and what the Most High had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, by all means was desirous to know it. All right, so Mordecai woke up, and that whole day, throughout that whole day, he was like, what does this dream mean? It said until night. So from the morning he woke up to that next night, he was thinking about it all day. What does this dream mean? But then you go back to 10, and it tells you, okay, this is what the dream meant. Once we was delivered out of the hand of the enemy. So the Most High can show you by Hashem Mashiach Yahushua. I'll tell you so all can see your dreams is scary because it could have been 3 because I begged the Most High. He showed me mercy as long as I stopped a certain sin, but that threat cured my sin. Okay. Steph Davenport, good testimony. Yeah, they still trying to do it until this day. Drill music, right? Drill rap. Even though they'll say, well, y'all created drill rap from the street, but y'all promoted it. But Esau, you promoted it. Even though a lot of drill was underground, but you made a genre out of it and you promoted the drill rappers. All right, so there's always something to try to destroy our people. Hollywood, sports, the music industry, homosexuality and lesbianism. You know, just turn all of them, turn them out. You know, that'll decrease their birth rates. They'll catch AIDS and die. Even though a lot of times they say you don't really catch AIDS, but you know, it is what it is. But all these different things to exterminate us, take away, buck break our men. No strong man figure in the household. Destroy our family structure. But you know, that's all by design to destroy us as a people. They've been doing it for ages and generations, and this time during Esther was no different. And that's heavy. We got to really look at that like, damn, you know, they was trying to wipe us out as a people for years and generations. They still doing some of that now. All right, destroying our households, you know, our children and everything. All right. There was a sister on, I think she was on TikTok or Instagram, one of them. She did a video, and she said she went to singles night at a church, at a Christian church, and there was almost 1,000 black women in there that was single, and only a handful of men. She said it was so many single women, like 1,000 of them, and it was only like a handful of brothers in there. And she was like, damn, I'm seeing it's a lot of, and she said, good looking sisters, professional, you know what I'm saying? Nice looking, whatever, just single. But see, the scriptures tell you in that day, 7 women shall take hold of 1 man. Right? Tell you that in Isaiah 4:1. All right? Because that's the times we live in. A lot of those women are single because they destroyed our men. We have gender wars, or brothers ain't feeling sisters, sisters ain't feeling brothers. But 1,000 single women, at a singles event, 1,000 women and only a handful of men, that's a lot of single sisters. But the scriptures tell you, like I said, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of 1 man, saying we will eat our own bread, wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name. They're going to be willing to be your wives in that day. Because of the shortage of men, and because the Israelite man is like, once we risen up, you know, we ain't get that full power yet. Brothers catching hell, and like, nigga, you ain't no prophet. You live up the street from me. But anyway, once that power is risen upon the servants of the Lord, they're going to say the scriptures say the men going to be like gods. And the women going to willingly bow down because they're going to see the power on you in that day. And the Most High going to be with you. Right? But right now, it's just jacked up amongst our people. But all of that is to the reason why there's 1,000 single sisters at a singles night at church, and there's only a handful of brothers there. Ain't even 500 brothers, okay? At least it's half of the brothers there. She said it was very little to no black men there. All sisters. Because why? A lot of it is because the men have been destroyed. They in jail. They dead. They bugged out of their mind. All right? Yeah, that's the scripture from earlier. They bugged out of their mind. They, you know, brothers ain't feeling sisters. They don't want to go to church. I ain't interested in no single night for whatever reason. But a lot of our brothers are gone. They're dead and gone. Or they locked up. Or they just out there bugged out. They on drugs. They roaming the street. They missing. Esau trafficking them somewhere, killed them and took their organs, and you never found the body. All types of stuff they doing to our men. So that's fulfilling prophecy, because all these women in these last days, yo, I need a husband, I need a Lord, I need a head, I need a king. Especially when it start getting bad out here. It tells you they're going to look to men for protection also. And when the Spirit of the Lord is with you, you're going to be unconquerable. You're going to have that power. You're going to be like, yeah, I can defend 20 women because the Lord is with me. So it's going to get like that. But all that goes back to my main point, which is the extermination of us as a people. They still doing it to this day. So that's one of the heavy dynamics of the story of Esther and Purim also. It was an extermination plot by the white man and the other nations back then in 365 to 367 BC. They was trying to kill us off back then. All right, over almost 3,000 years ago. So learn that, Israel. All right. So that's it. I just wanted to come on here and do some kind of closing for the Purim. Like I said, even though it's technically over for us when the sun went down, but you know, hey, closing out. I'm still celebrating tonight. All right, back to work and regular schedule programming tomorrow, but 3-4 days of celebrating our feast day season. Nothing wrong with that. All right, eat, drink, be merry, pray to the Most High, do all things in moderation, of course. Pray to the Most High, thank him for this time and this season. Thank him for all praises, seed of David. Great class, Khan, all praises, man. Just little light story went over, whatever, a little edification. And y'all got the chronological order now, how to read the story of Esther from the Bible and Apocrypha. That's why I did a video so you can go back and watch it. And you ain't. I'm a little confused, Elder. Say that again. I ain't got to say it again. You can rewind it. So yeah, that's about Israel. That's about it, Israel. Don't forget, Passover's coming up. All right, it's a great time. It's Nicanor, Purim, Passover season, war season. You know, they bombing Israel and America is bombing Iran. Iran is bombing Israel back. They running scared in Israel. They running through the streets, children crying, screaming. They trying to go in the shelters. There's too many of them. They overflowing the shelters. They said the shelters are starting to smell now, and people got bad hygiene in there, and disease is going to start spreading, or it's getting serious, man. I've been checking out some dynamics of this war. All right, so it's getting serious out here, right? Trump said, you haven't seen nothing yet. We haven't started. You know that proud devil, man. That proud devil. He said, we haven't even started yet. We haven't even started yet. God. So you know that devil is coming, boy. That devil said, we haven't even started yet. That damn devil Trump. My man, Orange Man. OrangeMan.com. But yeah, you know, this war's here. Even though a lot of times the Illuminati, they fund both sides, and that's why you get excited about it being World War III. This could just be a little spring sacrifice. A spring sacrifice, a deflection from the Epstein files. There's a lot of that going on. But at the end of the day, it's the Most High. All right, and they bombing modern-day Persia during the Feast of Purim season. Because it's still Purim for some brothers and sisters. Tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, some brothers, they got different calendars. So it's like, matter of fact, it's Purim now for the so-called white Jews. I think they started last night or tonight. All right, because they're usually 2 days or a day. They're usually 2 days after us. So it's still that Purim season. All right, H.O.I 5 stars, the water. Yeah, we prophesied what was going to happen in Israel for years now. God, they said it's stinking and nasty in the bomb shelters. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of, remember they had the underground tunnels at the Jewish synagogue in Brooklyn, and they found that, I still get a little queasy, y'all. They found that mattress with them stains on it. All right, so, hey, it happened to us in Hurricane Katrina. Remember Katrina? The convention center and the Superdome? They said there was dead bodies in there. There was toilets overflowing. There was women getting raped. There was children screaming and crying. Go back and check out what happened during Hurricane Katrina in that Superdome and Convention Center in New Orleans. They said conditions in there was worse than a third world country. Go back and watch the real documentaries on Katrina. They'll tell you, man, it was toilets overflowing, dead bodies in there, women getting raped, People getting killed, people getting stabbed. I think people getting shot. Niggas running from a hurricane but still take their gun. They said that convention center was bad. Fights was breaking out everywhere. It was smelly, stink, sweaty. Yeah, man. They said it was bad. So, welcome to our world, Amalek. Now, you a damn refugee in your own country. You fleeing from bombs in your own country. Amalek. During Purim. Usually they have all kinds of big festivals all around Israel for Purim. Not this year. Well, maybe some parts they can still have it because everywhere is probably not getting bombed. All right, but that's the Most High's judgment. Is this going to be World War III? We don't know. It could calm down next week. Trump, all that big talk, it could calm down next week. And a lot of times these wars are for profit. They fund both sides. Y'all go look up, I meant to bring that out earlier. Go look up Sister Salt from Salt and Pepper. She got a good video where she breaking down the Illuminati and everything. Check that out. And she talk about the wars, how they fund both sides. Sister Salt from Salt and Pepper. Go check her out. She got a video she did recently where she going in on the Illuminati and everything. I was like, wow, okay. So people starting to wake up. I don't know if she been listening to the truth, but Tucker Carlson interview he had on Amalek. Yeah, y'all seen Salt from Salt and Pepper? She broke it down. Sister in the Spirit. And notice she said she been doing her research because she said, I've been wanting to talk about this, y'all, but I know a lot of y'all gonna think I'm crazy. But listen, like I tell you in Apocrypha 2 Ezra 6, the truth which have been hidden from ages and generations is now going to be made manifest. All right? You ain't going to have no choice but to accept the truth because it's going to come out. All right, so that's it, y'all. Remember, Passover is coming up Wednesday, April 1st, 2026 at even, 8 p.m., Raleigh, North Carolina, Ambiance Event Center. If you would like to attend Passover with H.O.I, email me at houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com. You have to RSVP so we can have enough seating for everyone. And I love y'all, Israel. I love y'all, HOI, but y'all not really RSVP'd until y'all send y'all donation in. Elder don't mean to be mean, but I'm getting RSVPs for 50 people. No, I'm just kidding. But you're technically not RSVP'd until you, hey, everything costs money in this kingdom. We got to secure the venue, the lamb, the wine, the deco, all that good stuff. Y'all know y'all like to get fly and pretty for Passover. So transportation, all that. People need help. All that comes into play. So get y'all donations in. The donations are $100 for a single to a family of 3. A family of 4 or more, 200. And if you're coming with an extremely large party, please give extra. Don't bring 50 people and want to give $200. That makes no sense. All right, we just do it that way for a certain number, and it's always, before anybody gets simple or proud or negative, nobody's making a damn profit off the Passover. It's always whatever you can afford. It's always whatever you can afford. We just put a certain number because we know the amount of people and how much the average expense of everything is going to be. But it's always give what, if you can't meet those numbers, give what you can afford. All right, before anybody gets simple, because a lot of y'all get simple when it comes to having to donate for the Passover. But you'll give money for all for other kind of foolishness and stupidity. Right? But anyway, that's Passover. We will be down in Raleigh from March 31st to April 3rd. There will be other events going on, but those are to be announced. But the primary event is the Passover, April 1st, 2026, 8 p.m. until. Come on out, all right? And celebrate the Passover and get your funds in. If you can't make it and you would still like to support, we would greatly appreciate that. If you want to sponsor a family or somebody that's low or help with expenses, extra stuff we're going to need to do, hey, there's a free will offering. Utilize it for whatever's needed for the Passover. That would be greatly appreciated also. But any inquiries, email me at houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com. houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com. Any general questions about the camp or joining and things of that nature, same email. All right, so Passover's coming up. We'll have the flyers and commercials coming out. So you'll see, get more information. But anything you need to know, more detail, houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com. Or Facebook, Kanai Zabach, Zabach Kanai. Instagram, Kanai Zabach. TikTok, Zabach144. Or again, the email, houseofisraelnyc@gmail.com. Or any other HOI cities or states, you can email and contact them too. They'll have information on the Passover. All right. Those are y'all. I'm still having an issue with these calendar prints, but I will get y'all calendars out to y'all ASAP. I am so upset with United States Postal Service right now. I do apologize, y'all, but it's things out of my control. They blame it on a storm, but I think they just incompetent. Or it might be something else. I don't even want to utter it because I'm going to still stay positive. But those that have pre-ordered calendars and haven't gotten them yet, I do apologize. It's something with the post office that was out of my control. Soon as I fix it, and I got a backup plan too to get more prints. So as soon as I take care of that, bear with me a little bit longer, I'll get y'all calendars out to y'all. If all else fails, then whoever don't get a calendar, of course, you'll get a full refund. So that's it for now, y'all. I've been on here running my mouth too long enough. Elder's long-winded. Nah, no follow, y'all. All praise to the Most High, Mashiach Yahweh. Love y'all, Israel. Much love in Yahweh, Yahweh. Hopefully everybody had or are having, those that still celebrating, a good Nicanor and Purim season. Passover season coming up. Much love in Yahweh, Yahweh. Hope y'all like the lesson. If y'all learned one thing tonight, I've done my job. I don't claim to be the top scholar teacher in Israel, but if you can learn one thing from me, I've done my job in Yahweh, Yahweh. All right, so y'all stay strong, stay in the spirit. Have a blessed rest of the week. Bless Shabbat and bless weekend, and stay strong. Endure to the end. And no matter what, if this not World War III, though it tarry, wait for it, for it will surely come. It will not tarry. All right, family. Signing off. Elder Zabach, Priest Zabach, Brother Zabach, whatever respectful title you decide to call me, as long as it's with respect and sincerity. All praise to the Most High, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, forever and ever. Amen. H.O.I to them chariots fly. Only screaming if you mean it. Right? Kwam Yashala, we still got next. Bring it out. H.O.I pull up boys. All the camps in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai throughout the four corners of the earth. Kwam Yashala. Shalom. Kun. Kwam Yashala. Ashar Yawam. Yahweh Ramakwabaf. Ashar Payam. Happy closing of Nicanor Purim season. Those that are continuing to celebrate, happy continued celebration to you. Kwam Yashala. Shalom.